I was trying to win at a game that I really never wanted to play. We went back to the bright backdrop, I know. It's because I'm filming for this expanded guide, so bear with me, but I also really like it lighter in the back. Today has been a long time coming. I'm not letting go of the channel. This is not one of those like, I'm leaving YouTube. This is it. This is just an authentic life update that for those that have been following me have heard bits and pieces of here and there in previous Get Ready With Me's, but I actually wrote this down, which I never do, so I can stay on track because it could be an emotional topic. Letting go is what it's all about. I'm going to tell you what that is. I'm going to tell you what's next. It's all about the channel and really what I've been going through over the past couple of years specifically, and what things are going to potentially look like going forward. I will also be applying makeup. I love a good Get Ready With Me. They are not the most popular videos in terms of engagement and metrics and formulas, which I will dive into very soon, but they happen to be something that I really love. In order to talk about letting go, I want to talk about what I'm letting go of. Putting in a little bit of hair oil. I just blow dried the hair. I ask for transparency from brands, as you know, I have for 7 years, and I want to be holding myself to the same standard here. Man, my hair has gotten so long. You can't even, so this is going to just be me being fully transparent with you, and I'm very nervous about this, and I really don't know why, because it's just me being me. The YouTube channel, this little YouTube channel, it did start on quite a whim. This was something that started about 7 years ago. I was tinkering with it. I had no idea what I was doing. I was recording on my laptop in my closet for a bit, but I started working at a corporate job, big company, and I was sitting with these creative people, and they ended up becoming very close friends of mine, so that's kind of what kept me there for as long as I stayed. Anyway, I was sitting around these creative humans. The work there was, I'm not gonna lie, pretty dull, pretty archaic and dull and slow moving. However, it did give me a lot of opportunities they were open. The team that I was initially on was very open to trying new things, which was pretty great. So it wasn't such a horrible experience at all. I said, hey, I'm tinkering with YouTube. I was staying up late. I couldn't sleep. I was really riled up at this time. I think it's because I had just gone through a massive amount of change in San Francisco. I had a great job. Then they reorged and they asked me to do something that I really didn't want to do. Went through a lot, thought I was gonna leave, and ended up getting this corporate gig that I thought I was gonna keep for 6 months. I stayed there for 7 years. So goes the story. As I was watching and staying up late, as I was getting into YouTube more and more, I started seeing all of these videos about clean beauty, unboxings, hauls. This was at, I would say, 2017, 2018, when beauty YouTube was still very much so beauty YouTube. I didn't want to be beauty YouTube, but I was just watching all of the things going on and thinking every time I watched it, sorry, I'm going to be doing this a lot with my hair because it's annoying me. I would watch it and just be like, I think I can do that. I don't know if I could do that. And then I would go back to this crew at work and they'd be like, yeah, all you need is this. And then you need this light. I was very lucky to be around that crew is what I'm saying. The other kind of impetus for this was I had gone to a wedding in Napa. My friend was pregnant and she was auditing and I had no idea what that meant. So I started seeing words like Teflon in my eyeshadow. It scared the crap out of me. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna start trying products. So I watched all these reviews and watched how long they were. And I, no shame in their game, but why did I say that? Wanted a concise review for a product. I didn't want to wait 20 minutes to get to the final verdict, things like that. So I started playing and I had so much energy. I had so much energy at this time because I was genuinely feeling excited. At this point in time, I was also publishing something crazy. Like I got up to 4 videos a week. I was always learning, I was always growing, and I was messing up repeatedly. It was very imperfect, but the energy was still there. The energy was super duper strong. Then I changed teams a little bit. I had talked my head off about all the YouTube stuff I was doing and Instagram stuff I was doing. I couldn't shut up about it. I was so excited about it. They moved me over to social media. And that's where everything changed, really. That's kind of where it started to sort of shift from, at least from my perspective, fun, watching things grow and build, still really not knowing what I was doing, but people were finding my content useful and helpful, and that made me feel really good. But it started turning into a bit of a competition with myself, and it started turning into this like sandbox. So what I mean by that is there was still pure stuff happening. It was purely creative. I was trying lots of different content ideas. Oh my God, there's a spider on the wall. We're gonna let it live because I'm gonna keep filming this. They're good. They're good for the world. They're good. They're good. So it's crawling. It's crawling. They started going like, oh, we should do this for YouTube and we should do this for YouTube. And they started making these decisions because what was happening in a nutshell, I don't want to dive into like the inner workings of this business because it's a lot. I had about 7 managers in 8 years, about 8 years there. And that's a lot. When the new people would come in, they'd want to come in with their chest puffed up, and it was a lot of ego-driven decision making, and they wanted to see change. Like, they were brought in to do change. I was watching this, was just kind of my way from afar, and then I'm like, so I would say, hey guys, here's an idea. I didn't think I knew better than everybody. You're there to provide an opinion and you're creative. So you want to, they said no a lot. And so what they didn't use, I used and I put into work. I was frustrated. And so I used it as an outlet. And I was like, oh, you don't think that can work? This is ego talking. I get it. You don't think that can work? Watch this. I'm gonna make this work. Granted, I didn't have billions of dollars to throw behind it. So all my growth has been organic. I was proving out all of my theories here and back on my website. I really got into the numbers. I really started to organize. And so that was the side that really edged out. The creativity wasn't there because the numbers were the only things I could use to say, actually, this does work. So it became about using what I was creating here and then using my numbers to say and prove my value and my worth. That is where things get muddy. At the same time, I was receiving comments from you all, I was like 15 steps away from that in corporate. So I'm like getting feedback. It's relatively intoxicating. And I was hearing things like, you're really helping me. I am not kidding you when I tell you that a lot of what fueled me, specifically during that time and after it, when I was really questioning what I was doing, was your comments and saying that this was helpful for you in your life. Not just like, oh yeah, I bought a fun new lipstick. You were finding it helpful. And that's when I needed that in a way I didn't understand that was actually quite healing for me because I never received that at work. And I always, as a manager of specifically females, but also males, I think it's so important. I think appreciation is so important in whatever field you work in. I'll stay somewhere if I feel appreciated and if I'm shown I'm appreciated. And different people are motivated by different things, but you gave me appreciation and I will forever be grateful for that. What started as one thing turned into another. That's normal evolution. And I've just been feeling really heavy about the content that I've been putting out. Something hasn't felt right. It just hasn't felt right. And it's been weighing on me. What's weird is I've had all the external validation in the world. I was growing. I'm continuing to grow. I'm selling more product. I'm gaining, my traffic has 20, 40, 60, quadrupled. I literally had to do the math in my head for the website. And I was saying that, I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is great. This is awesome. The more I tested and the more I was utilized at work, the narrow and narrower things got. So I started creating formulas for my content that I could present to work. And I'd be like, X plus Y plus Z equals, X plus Y equals Z, whatever. And they're like, wow, okay, we're probably not going to use that. Okay, great. This restrictive world that I started to create for myself. So when I was doing this at work, I would come home and be like, I gotta do this on the website. I have to create another scorecard. If you could see, so my mom recently just started helping me migrate content from one site to the other. God bless Judy. She is my hero. She has no idea. She won't absorb that sentence for some reason, but I love my mother. And she was excited I think she's more excited about it than I am, which you think would make me excited, but that was also a telling thing for me as well. She has seen the inner workings of what I've done. Remember the movie A Beautiful Mind? He was a genius. I'm not saying I'm a genius at all. That side took over. Organization. I could be like little Brittany going, look what I did. Do you think a part of it wasn't just that? A part of it was truly loving watching things grow. I love to watch things grow, whether it's a plant, my 3-year-old niece. I like watching things grow. I'm sure that's probably biologically hardwired in me. But yeah, it was part that too, but it was edged out by the other side. This pressure of having to prove my worth at work and having to somehow follow a schedule over here, it all sort of became one big thing. They became so parallel that I really lost myself in it. There's always been a part of me that's been lost and caught up in this really restricted, scheduled, formulaic life that I've created. Life that's been externally validated. A life that was also something I was sort of raised on with those movies and Girl Boss and hustling, and that's my generation. I'm cusp millennial. So this is what I was fed in a lot of ways, and if you think it doesn't have an impact, you're wrong. It has an impact. I wanted to mimic and model these behaviors. I loved the strong female lead that 9 times out of 10 Sandra Bullock played. She'd work her butt off and have one of those crappy microwave dinners and just, she did it on her own. She's independent. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And it's really not the best. I don't think that's the best way for me to build a business. Just saying. That's what I'm realizing. It negatively impacted my mental health for sure. I started to get really closed in. The pandemic everybody had a different experience with the pandemic. But the weird thing was when I was just starting to let this go, the pandemic came along and I was like holding on to this for dear life because it was the only constant in my life at that point. Right before the pandemic, I was also kind of potentially moving away from it, but it was really hard because I had created what I wanted to see, but I lost sight of what I wanted to feel. So it was weird. I was so happy to have it, but any close friend I talked to, I was like, I'm surrounded by makeup. I don't know what to do with it. And it's like, boo-hoo. You got so many free samples. Look at you. Why are you crying about it? So I was genuinely confused and all over the place, but I kept at it. What was my sandbox really kind of became my blankie, and now it's a crutch. And well, I think I've known that for a while. It was really hard to admit. Present day yesterday, I was watching Jamie French. If you don't know who Jamie French is, when I say I really like a creator, it's usually because I want to be their best friend. And she doesn't know this. She doesn't probably even know me, and that's fine. If you don't know Jamie French, you should watch her. She is just very authentic and very funny. I totally vibe with her humor. She made a video about I'm leaving the beauty community. I can't talk and do eyeliner. No, I can. Look at that. Oh my God. Add to resume. I watched that yesterday and I cried a lot. I cried. It wasn't like one of those sobbing cries. I'm very pro crying when you need to. I feel like it's very cathartic and healthy. I actually know when I need to have one of those moments because I'll get really anxious beforehand and it's like something needs to emote, something needs to come out. Sometimes I'll write. But yesterday I cried because I was nodding and I was like, yes. And she kept saying things that I was like, yes, like that's exactly how I feel too. It was a lot about being unfulfilled, and it was one thing in the beginning and she's super grateful and now it's something else at the end. And I'm like, yeah. I thought corporate, which was the motivating factor at first, I thought that was then the distraction, right? Now corporate's out. We've parted ways. And without that there, I thought my energy would be through the roof for this channel and my website. I'm like, this is going to be amazing for me. Like finally that albatross is out of here and I'm free and I can do the things. And I'm thinking of Kristen Wiig and Bridesmaid like pop. Anyway, so that didn't happen. That energy did not happen. Now I gave myself some time post corporate because I feel like there was absolutely detox that needed to happen. Surely after, don't call me Shirley, surely after a few months, the energy would come back, the excitement, the magnetic pull. No, ma'am, no. I'm not a robot, evidently. Weird. Every day, and I haven't really told many people this, I would wake up and I'd be like, this, and Jamie French talked about this. She'd say how she would try to record something 3 or 4 times. I've been there, I've done that. I wake up in the morning, I have my cup of coffee. I love my cup of coffee. And then I would sit there and I'd be like, I don't want to do this. What do I want to do? And I would reinvent the wheel every day. And it's such a mind game. I don't recommend it. And then I'd go, you just need to pick one thing and go with it. Pick one thing and go with it. I've done that several times before. And it's paid off. It's totally paid. Actually, this whole thing paid off. So externally, yeah, that you're like, what are you doing, you crazy? I would talk to my closest friends and I would say, you know, I think something's wrong. I think something's really wrong with me. I think the pandemic did a number on me, or this or that. Maybe it's my hormones. Maybe it's this. What's wrong with me? I'm doing better than I ever have with my business. The numbers are off the charts for specific pieces of it, you know, where I wanted to grow it. And I still can't find the energy to go full force. It's gotta be self-sabotage. Yeah, it's gotta be self-sabotage. I thought, okay, I should speak to a therapist or something. Did that. I'm very pro-talk therapy, or anything that helps you, anything that empowers you, if you could do it. It didn't help. It just didn't help me. Okay, cool. So that's not it. And then I realized things are a whisper, and then they're kind of a shout, and then they're a scream, and then they're like a blood-curdling scream, and then they're basically on like one of those horn things. It's just like screaming in your... until you get it, or your body collapses, like one of the two. Something in there is gonna come out. Nothing was wrong with me. I was just not listening to myself. I was getting all the reinforcement that the world tells you, or we'll just say the US, I guess. I don't know. The movies, media, that the people tell you should look for. Checking all the boxes and, you know, way to go. And yet so unfulfilled, and it's so cliche, right? And then you get into this like, will I ever be fulfilled? Existentialism. There's a lot. I had started with a ladder on a wall. And I've heard this before. This is not mine. I don't remember whose it was. But I was building that ladder on that wall. And I was getting pretty far up there on the ladder. And realized I don't want it to lean on that wall. Energy trumps formula for me. And I forgot. I was trying to win at a game that I really, really never wanted to play. I learned a ton. I also learned that's not at all what I want. I do not want a members only jacket to that club. You can keep it. That's for those people who want it. I don't. I just sort of reacted and navigated and did my thing. And then I got stuck in a rut, an overly analytical rut. I remember recently hearing this phrase that was, overthinking is underfeeling. Yeah, I believe in thinking. Not to the point where you're like stuck in a to-do list and all of a sudden you're 78 and you're like, wow, I'm really glad I did laundry on time every day and got that scorecard post up so people could read it. That is a life well lived. And I'm not saying it needs to be glamorous all the time. There's beauty in the mundane. But if that fulfilled me, wonderful. If that made me feel good or fulfilled, not everything is always going to make you feel like sunshine and rainbows. Great, but it wasn't. So I watched Jamie French's video. She's somebody who was in the beauty industry heavily. I used to watch her beauty videos. I just watched them for her personality. And I thought, if she can do it, she's giving me the courage to change things up in the way I see fit. It's really scary until you do it, usually with these types of things. And then you do it and you're like, why didn't I do that 20 years ago? It's creepy to think that best content, the most profitable content, whatever, is the stuff that's really bringing me down. And that's the stuff that you might be disappointed you won't see as much of. I'm not saying it's all going away. So now what? Right? So now what? That's my favorite question, by the way. I've recorded at least 5 videos like this. Usually I end up crying and talking in circles. So I'm glad I wrote. But this one I think is going to stick. At least doing it will stick. We'll see what happens after that. I have a series that I have in mind, of course. Once I opened myself up to thinking about the inside out approach, I'm like, oh my God, I could talk about this and I could do this and I could do that. So there will be content, but I'm allowing myself to let go a little bit of what was, and more so allowing myself to evolve. And you hear a lot of creators talk about that. If I'm not growing and learning, I have like a very weird, insatiable need. My idea of retirement would be going back to school and taking courses and not having to take tests. I love learning. I love learning from people. I love learning from books. I'm obsessive when it comes to learning, and there's only so many mascaras I can learn about. Naturally, I want to try something else. I'm asking myself quite a bit, what do I want to feel? And as I'm asking myself that question, I'm also considering, what do I want those watching to feel? Not what do I want them to buy. That's the e-commerce, marketing, retailer My father asked me recently and he goes, I was driving around the other day. He's super insightful. I'm so lucky to have them, both my parents. I really am. And I hope that's not triggering to anybody listening. I hope this is like a warm hug if you need it from somebody, even though they're not your parent. I think he went to a dinner and somebody asked him a question and he goes, I was going to ask you if you had all the money in the world. And I'm like, don't ask me this question. I said that. I was like, please don't ask me this question. He goes, what would you do? She is in there somewhere. She's starting to come out. I think this video and publishing this video is the first step. But she doesn't have as much of a plan this time. And that's very scary for somebody like me. I always have a plan. Or at least I grew into that person. I don't think I started as that person. This whole energetic thing, this used to be my thing. The energy behind the content, not the strategy, not the SEO strategy, not the hashtag strategy. I mean, some of that, but that can't be it. I do believe that the energy we put out, like this video is going to send very different energy compared to here's the RMS Eyelights. First thing, ingredients. That's made to inform and help you make a better decision. And I miss the ones that light me up. That's where I'm moving towards, things that light me up. This is gonna be a giant game. I'm making it into a game of hot and cold. When I'm getting closer to topics and content that excite me and that I really wanna share with you, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna share them with you. I really do like the get ready with me format, so I'm not just dropping makeup immediately or hair care or anything like that. I am going to publish what I'm calling my magnum opus, which is this giant video guide, 7 years and 70 minutes or 6 years and 60 minutes. All of my best of Style Shaker products, you'll have a year's worth of access, all the promo codes. So that is still coming. And yeah, the scorecards are just, they take up so much time, you guys. I mean, 2 weeks of testing and hours, you don't care. We don't know yet what's gonna happen with that. You can always access this on the site. Podcast will kick back up because that brings me joy. That's getting warmer. That's a getting warmer situation. Ultimately, you're gonna get to know a different side of me. And that's, as you could imagine, somewhat scary because there's vulnerability in that. But I'm like really excited about it, and I might lose a lot of you. I don't know. I really don't know. And that's okay. But all I know is it's time for that. It's time to grow. It's time to evolve. It's time to go into the next phase, whatever that may be. Reviews might still be peppered in for new launches that I'm super curious about, or brands that are incredibly innovative with their packaging. Like a Lotus, it's all opening up. Less restricting in formulas, more opening with flow, and figuring out how to navigate through the unlearning of years and years worth of learning how to fit in to a corporate / startup club that I really don't feel like I ever belonged to. But thank you to all of that, because man, it's taught me a lot. There's the fun look. She's glowy. It's a little humid. I really don't want to publish this video. I really don't. It feels real weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like, I don't ever lie to you, but it feels very, very weird and uncomfortable. I keep telling myself to wait on publishing this. I'm like, just wait. Maybe this is the hormones. Maybe this is just, you're just not enough vitamin D. Maybe that. But then I know that if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you're seeing this, then I did have the courage to publish it and kick something off that I really don't know what it's gonna be. And I've let go. Thank you for your support. The ones who've commented and told me about how much I've helped, I appreciate you. If you are excited about it and it's getting you warmer to what you want, then you stick around. And if you're like, nope, if it's cooler, then play the game too. It's a giant life game of hot and cold. I am always wishing you the best and just sending out really strong vibes of high energy, love, and positivity. As cheesy as it sounds, I do believe that you can somehow feel that through this camera. So I hope you feel that, and I hope you feel like you can have a great rest of your weekend. That's it. Bye.